The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome, as always, to the show. Dan here with Michael and Rob for the weekly update that's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will offer you a range of legal services with a 10% discount if you go through us. Michael, such as?
Lasting powers of attorney.
Give me another one.
Wills.
Don't do it. I want you to vary your act up.
Oh. Probate and...
Commercial dispute resolution.
Commercial dispute resolution. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Must have been while you were kissing me, as Meatloaf sang. Anyway, you can get 10% discount at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball.
There's an image to conjure with.
Yeah. They do employment law as well, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So if you do start harassing me with tongues, then I'll refer you to Levi Solicitors.
Fine.
Good. On with the show. And we are back after the international break, and it's the last one, actually, until March. Are you glad to see the back of it?
Well, I mean, it was obviously very exciting to watch England.
How much of it did you watch?
About half an hour. I watched enough, would be what I'd say. I felt like I saw enough. Put it on. I saw the penalty get given, and then I think I lost interest after that because I was like, this is just stupid.
Who is this against? Sorry. Because I've not seen any of it.
North Macedonia.
Okay.
Yeah, Gianni Alioski and Calvin
Gianni
Phillips had a nice little reunion, didn't they?
It was one of those that goes to VAR and you think, they're not going to give this, are they? Oh, they are. Okay.
It was a ludicrous decision, wasn't it?
Maybe that's a penalty now. I don't really know.
It wasn't a penalty, was it?
I must admit, I couldn't see how it was, but they had a good look.
It touched a man's face. It was Rico Lewis who touched a man's face when jumping completely naturally. But I just thought, whatever. I thought at least it'll inject something into the game.
It didn't though, did it?
Not really, no.
It's funny though, like, I think it was leaving the office on Friday and you were like, oh, you're watching England tonight? And we were both, oh, they're playing. Right, okay. Who are they playing? Didn't really know. And then, I think it was Friday night, I checked my phone and BBC Sport was just like, this is really boring. So I thought, okay, I'm not really going to bother then. But I don't know, I've quite liked this break. Just, I think, knowing that the next one isn't until March and we're about to, like, enter the deepest, darkest depths of the championship season.
Absolutely that.
I'll just have a nice rest. It's fine.
It's been useful timing because we've sold loads of merch, so that's been good.
So thank you if you bought.
I've had more time to spend packing up calendars and Lowfield shirts. So
Still available on the website.
Still available. New batch of calendars coming in tomorrow or Monday. Soon anyway.
Yep.
Buy one. I'll send it when they're here.
Well,
it'll be here in time for
for next year.
For 2024.
Are we running it January to December?
Yes.
The traditional calendar format.
Yeah, the traditional calendar year.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the Farker mugs? Because you love packing them, don't you?
We're nearly out of those, actually. So
another reorder. We've sold loads of those.
I don't believe you. You're just deliberately trying to get people not to buy them.
Well, the last batch arrived, and I thought, I'm not even going to tweet about this because I'm sick of sending the bloody things.
Thanks for putting a roof over my head.
I've not got time to send all these mugs, but yeah, they're in as well.
But yeah, it has been nice actually, just in terms of having a break, just to go away and reset for a little bit. Because I think it's one thing I didn't appreciate enough last year with all the stresses of getting relegated. That like I was kind of getting to the international breaks and going, thank God for that. I don't have to think about Leeds for a bit, and then I'd start stressing about Leeds again coming back. And actually now I'm thinking, I'm enjoying this, so I'm going to recharge my batteries, settle in for the long winter, and come back absolutely ready to watch us destroy Rotherham on Friday. But it's I've appreciated the breaks, I think, more this season than I did last season, which just felt like one long, drawn out, stressful experience. Actually, just talking about the perception, I suppose, of the international break. Alex is over on our members show this week, speaking to Flora. Where we're getting to know our TSB Plus members 5 questions at a time. And this didn't actually make it into the edit, but it's a point that Alex brought up and I thought was interesting.
I've never had much interest in international football. World Cups and Euros, but it's like a London thing, and it's supporting England, really.
London thing?
I never thought of it as that.
By angry Millwall fans, generally in the terrace, is that the vibe?
Maybe.
Supporting England does feel like a distant thing to me. Maybe that's because of the location of Wembley. I don't know. And it was when they toured the grounds, when they were building Wembley, that I think felt a little bit more friendly to the north. But yeah, it does feel like something that exists at arm's length to me.
Even in the last couple of years when they've played like pre-tournament games at Elland Road, or did they go to the Stadium of Light, that does make it feel a little bit more, oh yeah, this is like for us as well. But I mean, I only really watch England in a major tournament. I sort of think like if you're looking for a release in the international break by watching England, expecting like an exciting game. I just think, well, what are you doing?
I will say,
it never works.
In mitigation for England, the group was pretty much done and dusted, so I don't think they were really asked, were they? But you should be winning these games, making it a bit more entertaining.
The main thing I think from the flags you see at England games, there's often quite random little towns on there. It'll be an England flag with like Worksop written on it or something, and you think, oh, okay.
Nuneaton.
Yeah, exactly, one of those. So I suppose I do think of, if I think of an England fan, do I think of a Cockney? I probably do.
Yeah.
Probably think of like a...
I think there's a lot of crossover between like West Ham and Spurs.
I was going to say, like, I think of a West Ham stroke Millwall fan.
Yeah.
Which I know will upset both groups of fans there because they hate each other. But, you know, you're one and the same. No, you're not. You're both great people, obviously.
That was the thing. I went to the Euros in 2016 in France, and that just seemed to be mainly like lads from Essex on coke. And I was like, it's not really my vibe, this, lads, to be honest.
Just the Essex bit.
Yeah, mainly.
Yeah, fair enough.
As for other international action, Willie got another 2 goals for the Italy under-21s against Ireland. So apologies to our Irish viewers, listeners, for that.
Do you think he might get into the main squad?
I kind of hope he does, because it means that he will... I feel like I don't want more upset and more churn and unhappiness within our squad. So I think it's for the best if we get promoted and he gets in the Italy squad, and then we can all just get back to it and not stress too much about what's going to happen in the next transfer window. Everybody just needs to be happy.
It's weird, isn't it? Because if we hadn't have like accidentally bought him last season, he'd kind of be out where, like, he'd be doing really well right now, where you go, oh yeah, he's playing for Italy under-21s. He's had a bit of experience in the Premier League. He's played in the Championship. He's kind of learnt his trade in Switzerland a bit. And you sort of think, that's like a good career path for a 20-year-old or whatever he is.
I did ask that question actually on the show we did with Phil. I think, was it just prior to the break? I can't quite remember, but has his journey into the Italy full squad maybe distorted his own perception of himself and where he is?
Too big for his boots.
And where he needs to be, I don't know. But once you've been put into the senior squad and you're 18, 19 years old, you think, well, this is it. The sky's the limit. He's only had an upward trajectory in his career, hasn't he? Then he has a bit of a setback with Leeds, goes down and thinks, oh, well, I don't need to be part of this. I'm a full Italian international. And then he starts to blame Leeds for losing his place in the senior squad. And I don't know, you know what I mean? You start to construct these scenarios. But he's an exceptional boy anyway, we know that. That
is true. Do you think Everton will be back in for him? Do you think they're going to dare to splash the cash?
We're going to have to ward off those bids, aren't we? Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? That. Did you see Serginho Dest, by the way, getting sent off for the States?
Oh, no.
He got 2 yellow cards in a matter of a minute, just completely lost his head with the ref. Like sarcastic applause and stuff like that at the ref. Teammates having to restrain him, getting annoyed with him. Yeah.
Oh, good. The full Gradle. Full Gradle.
He went beyond Max Gradle, to be honest, I think. Have the playoff draws been done, by the way? I was just going to ask about the...
Apparently so.
Wales have just been drawn against Finland, I've just seen on Twitter. So that means it's Ethan Ampadu versus Glenn Kamara in midfield.
They'll kick each other to death or something. Be out for the season. Ruto's come back from the France 21s, like we recorded with Phil prior to the press conference, and then he went up to Thorpe Arch after we finished recording with him yesterday. And we said, obviously, we don't know at that stage if is there any fresh injury hell, and the fresh injury hell we're being greeted with is Jorginho Ruto. He's got a poorly tummy, as it was in the Daily Email, Rob.
He has, yeah, but not for the first time this season. He hurt his core in the Hearts pre-season friendly, so I don't really know what he's doing or how he's playing football. But because he barely played for France under-21s, I think he played like 20 minutes as a sub in their first game and then was unused in the second one. They lost both their games. But yeah, not ideal given he's sort of our best player, maybe.
Yeah.
He's got very long arms. I wonder if that's putting a strain on his core.
Do you think it's like gravity's kind of...
Yeah, out of his arm, he needs his arms shortened.
I suspect it's possibly that's just his gait. His arms are probably in proportion.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, he's very swingy. He's very swingy though, isn't he?
Yeah, his arms are very mobile.
Is this your doctor's prognosis?
Yeah,
you're just concerned that his arms are just putting a bit too much strain on his body, aren't you?
If they were closer, if he had Jordan Pickford arms, no issue.
Right,
no issue at all there. So it's something to look at.
But we do know that from the presser that Joffrey's back, Shax is back, Jed Spence back in training, which is good news. Sam Byram and the big sexy plasterer / pirate have recovered quicker than expected and have rejoined training this week. So we're not in too bad a position, I don't think, going into the Rotherham game.
For a Leeds squad, this feels like very few injuries. But that was kind of the whole thing of Farke's presser, was him being asked, well, who are you going to pick? And he was a bit like, don't know, because nobody's been here over the international break. Like, they're only just, I think they all got back on Wednesday, or the last of them got back on Wednesday, so they can't even train Thursday before playing Friday. So he was a bit like, there's going to be a lot of late decisions.
Pat obviously tired from his podcasting schedule as well.
Yep.
It's hard work.
With Joe Wilkinson, isn't he? So
Yeah, laughing about being relegated just months after it happened. I mean, we're allowed to do that.
it was. Yeah, the clip I saw was him talking about Sam Allardyce telling me we was shit.
And then I missed this penalty, and it was hilarious. And we all had a good laugh about it. But all right, we'll forgive him if it's a good show. You mentioned Everton there in passing, that 10-point deduction. We did touch on this with Phil on Thursday. Wholly disproportionate and unjust was the language that came out of Everton. What do you reckon to it?
It's probably fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah. What about you, Rob? Because we've spoke about it.
They're going to get away with it as well because it's such a shit season. If you're going to have 10 points deducted, they weren't going to get into Europe this year, where their aim was survival, and they're going to survive. So
They've shown they've got enough about them to survive based on the season so far.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you'd expect them to then claw the way out of it again.
Well, they don't even need to claw anything. They're a point off against three absolutely shit teams down there. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They've essentially they're going to get away with this because they're getting the points in a season where like 20 points is going to be enough to keep you up by the looks of it. So it's a piece of piss. In other years, a 10-point deduction would be a bit of a death sentence, but in this one, you kind of go, oh well, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think now, like looking from the outside as well, it's just kind of funny to watch the Premier League eat itself, basically. And I think that's
exactly what we said. Yeah.
And I just
bring it all down.
Yeah, and it's also hilarious that Everton have kind of spunked all this money and they're just absolutely terrible still. And then, like, from the argument of, well, should Leeds be there? Like, have we been cheated out of it? I just sort of think, well, no, we were absolutely rubbish.
No, completely deserved it. We were saying we feel like we might get a couple of million for different, placed finishes in the league. Prize money basically is like £2 million per spot, isn't it? So we shall see. We'll see if we get anything out of it. I mean, I'm not really interested if we do or don't. I'm glad that there's been some sort of punishment for it. Whether it has any sort of genuine effect on them, I don't know. But they're not happy. So
I do think Everton fans would have a fair point to say, why has this happened to us when there's been general governance issues going on for decades?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely nothing has been done about.
It's exactly how we felt when we got hammered for the -15 and then another 10.
Yeah, because you kind of go, well, all right, but you've allowed the Saudis to buy the Saudi state to buy Newcastle, which shouldn't really have happened. You've allowed Man City and Chelsea to spend ridiculously for X number of years and put in, all these invoices, we'll just call them, for sales deals and things and sponsorship deals. And they've not actually had any punishment as yet, have they?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say...
Whereas because Everton have kind of fessed up to it and gone, all right, yeah, this sort of stuff has happened and this is in the books and you can look at this. It feels like they've been punished for it, which I guess isn't particularly fair.
I think for the general football fan, and I don't know if I'm only speaking for myself here, but you feel like you want this to be, I don't know, the starter and the main courses to follow almost. If this is the way into actually dealing with it and actually showing some teeth properly with all the shenanigans that have been going on. Because there's been talk of like 30-point deductions for like Man City and Chelsea and all sorts of stuff. I mean, a 30-point deduction now for Man City would put them on -2 and bottom of the league.
They'd still easily stay up.
Oh, probably, yeah. But then again...
Probably still get Europa Conference League.
The irony is that if that was to happen, what would that then do to Everton's season, funnily enough? Because it might then put them in a load of shit. Because that's one thing that this has done, is that you're saying they'll easily stay up, but they are now 8 points adrift of the next clutch of clubs. So Fulham from 15th upwards are in that group of teams that Everton were in before. It's like 12 points, 13, 15, 15, 16. They were kind of in that mix, weren't they? And now they're in that clutch of clubs that's got 4, 5 and 6 at the bottom. So it does give them a long way to go to get out of that group of 5 at the bottom: Bournemouth, Luton, Sheffield United, them and Burnley.
But, suck it up. You weren't going to sell Tosun for 50 million, so don't put that in your books, is what I would say. And there were several, we talked about it with Phil, didn't we? But you're saying how they've allocated certain interest payments of stadium and all this. They've done several slightly dodgy things, and they can't really complain. I mean, the way you can complain is to say, well, it's not like they're spending money they've not had. It's just that they've racked up too much of a debt. But that's only a rule because years back, the established clubs wanted this put in as a rule to stop other clubs doing well. And because Everton haven't done well, it feels particularly unfair to punish them for it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, Man City were unrestrained for, and this is why they're sitting where they are. They were unrestrained for years, weren't they? And they just did whatever the hell they wanted. And then they made the UEFA thing go away. Sorry, by timing it out, didn't they? So what can you do when you're up against kind of the whole system? And I understand why they feel put out by it, but equally, they have gone well outside the rules, and they're saying it's a technical breach. It's 19 or 20 million. Still, like a high proportion of what the allowed losses are, like 105, is it? I believe it's a good proportion over it. It's a good 20% over it.
I have enjoyed as well how they'd had to run signings by the Premier League. The Premier League, well, we're not going to stop you signing them, but are you sure you can afford this? Only do it if you can afford it. No, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. We'll just give Theo Walcott a load of money or whatever.
Yeah.
When it comes to signings, anyway, let's talk about transfers because we've had a little bit of update. On the staffing front, Nick Hammond is staying on until the end of next summer, so it'll be the next summer transfer window on it. So see us through January, see us through next summer, and then they'll sit down and look at it, presumably. All seems very sensible given where we are and what we've done.
Done all right, hasn't he, so far?
Yeah. I was going to say, what I really like about Nick Hammond is that I still don't really know anything about him. He's just sort of stayed in the background and done a decent job in quite difficult circumstances as well, given the summer. And it's the same with is it Greta Steinson, the technical director. Not really heard a peep from any of them, have we?
Apparently a very, very serious man.
Yeah. It's quite intimidating, isn't he? But it's just like just cracking on and seems to be doing a good job and have things under control.
That was very much in my mind when the Arsenal-Sevilla game was on and you had Victor Orta doing interviews pitch side. And I thought, I'm glad we've moved on from that. Regardless of what your opinion of Orta's successes and failures are, I don't necessarily want the people who are doing the recruitment and stuff pitch side doing interviews. I'm glad they're just kind of away in offices, not quite sure what they do, but they're doing it.
Well, the recruitment should speak for itself, shouldn't it? And so you don't need the person there going, actually, I'm doing a fucking good job. So why don't you all piss off?
And being defensive about the job that they're doing. If you don't say anything, then you're less open to criticism, I suppose, aren't you? In a way, if you don't put yourself there in the firing line, if you don't stick your head above the parapet. Yeah,
but I mean, we just seem to have gone down a much more sensible route with transfers, don't we? With the players we've signed this year, it's just get people in who are of a decent level of age and experience that can do a job for us immediately, rather than taking a punt on someone who either was good 4 years ago or might be good in 4 years, which seems to be Victor Orta's speciality.
And we now have Robbie Evans, who's joined from 49ers as the Chief Strategy Officer, as we mentioned on the show with Phil. If you want to hear the full description, I mean, I actually had to rejoin LinkedIn in order to view his profile so I could read what he described his job as.
You can get a bit more Jake Humphrey on there as well now.
Yeah, well, I've turned off all notifications for there. But
not very high performance of you, is it?
No, I really don't want to.
You're going to miss out on some big opportunities there.
Do you know I'd like to be? Mediocre performance. And I feel perfectly
something to aspire to.
Yeah, perfectly comfortable doing that, Michael. But yeah, Robbie Evans it's all basically big data they're going to use. But it was I found
everyone's using big data though, aren't they?
I know, but the fact that they're addressing it, I'm not saying it's revolutionary and new. I'm saying it's good that we're doing it and it's new for us. Whereas again, going back to Victor Orta, you've got the whims of one man controlling our entire transfer policy, basically.
One man who can't use Excel.
I enjoyed...
His formulas are all fucked and we end up signing Junior Firpo. Brilliant.
Have you seen the Liam Cooper interview with Sky Sports? Talking about his highs and lows at Leeds over the last decade. I really enjoyed his take on Spygate, where he was saying all the players were just laughing at Frank Lampard, basically. But then when Bielsa did the press conference, where he just basically showed up Lampard completely and just revealed everything he knew about him, like the colour of his kids' eyes and stuff. But it was like the Leeds players were watching that because Bielsa never actually spoke to them about it, but the Leeds players watched that and were just like, fucking hell, this is the amount of detail he's going into and we only see a fraction of that. And they were just like, this guy knows what he's doing. This is great.
That's amazing, isn't it? That actually, and just looking back on that press conference, how terrified we all were that he was going to walk because of what happened. And actually, he reinforced his position, cemented his position, both in our minds and, as it turns out, in the minds of the players.
Speaking of world-class coaches, seen Chris Armas is back in work?
Before Jesse?
Before Jesse. Well, Jesse's waiting for... he's gone to Colorado Rapids, hasn't he, Chris Armas? Jesse's probably looking at a big job, Premier League job.
Barcelona, something like that.
Yeah, maybe so, yeah. Probably, I can no doubt speak about 8 words of Spanish. Thinks he's fluent.
I suppose he'll be having a nice time. I think he's touring Europe or something at the minute, isn't he? Maybe looking for potential new job opportunities. Who knows?
Is he still living in England, Marsh? Because he was knocking around Harrogate, wasn't he, not long ago?
Yeah, presumably he's still on the payroll. That's what I've always assumed because to pay him off in one fell swoop, if it's X number of £1 million, you then have to book all that for financial fair play, profit and sustainability. Whereas if you keep him on the books, you're just paying it month by month, aren't you then?
If we haven't bumped up, no, don't matter.
You've said it on the recording now. Mark Rocker, actually, just in terms of outgoings, has been saying in another interview, I don't know if this is just the old interview where he said this being recycled, but yeah, he's saying that Betis are in talks of signing permanently from Leeds, so could be on the way out. I mean, you do wonder whether there's an incentive for Leeds to do that, even if it's taking it a very slight loss, if it gives them a bit of cash going into January, I don't know.
I feel like we've been hearing about Betis signing Mark Rocker since like March, and he even plays for him now, and it's still every week. It's like, oh, they're going to sign him. It's like, oh, got him. It's fine. But yeah, part of that, some of the reporting around that has been that Betis kind of don't actually have much money, so whether they could afford to buy him in the summer is kind of unclear. But they also seem to think that if Leeds don't go up, they could just get him on loan again, which is kind of that elephant in the room, which we're not quite sure about, which could be a bit awkward if we don't get promoted.
Well, that's supposed to be not a problem. I'm from what Phil was reporting and what Phil knows, he was saying that like it looks like Jack Harrison could go out again on loan. But as for the rest of them, I think
So we get them back, which is good.
Yeah, it's a problem either way, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like we're just going to be like lumbered with a few of them, because we're going to have to take a loss eventually.
I was going to say, if we go up, then great.
We can have the option to loan them out, can't we?
Yeah,
presumably.
if we go up and they all come back, it's like we're stuck with a load of effectively what you're going to class as deadwood, I suppose. Which
balsa wood in the case of Brendan Aronson.
Yeah, which does lead to the question of which ones would you want to retain, or would you try and retain? Because, like Aronson, you're talking about a substantial loss, aren't you? It doesn't matter as much if you go up because you've got a bit more leeway in the Premier League, although Everton don't seem to have that much leeway, do they? But
are you changing your opinion on Aronson at all? Because I know when he left, you were like, oh, I think he's going to come back.
I still think he might. I genuinely do. I think of all the ones that went out, because he's young enough and, cost enough, that I suspect they'll try and make it work somehow. I do understand the idea that I know you've advocated for it, and Phil said it as well. Like, it feels like it's over for all of them.
Yeah, I think the timeline's interesting with Aronson in that we got relegated. Yeah, we know that Liam Cooper told them all in the dressing room, if you don't want to be here, then fuck off. And it was the very next day.
He addressed that, didn't he, in the interview, actually?
And it was the very next day, 24 hours later, that there was a story in the Athletic, which seemed to be pushed by Brendan Aronson's agent, of like, look, this guy's got a release clause, and then it's like, oh, now Union Berlin are about to get relegated or whatever. He's like, oh no, maybe I wouldn't mind going back to Leeds. Whereas I think what I did on my Football Manager save with Leeds was to just flog them on to Saudi Arabia. So
right.
I think that's what we should do.
Yeah. Oh, we have discussed the idea of Brendan in Saudi Arabia, haven't we? And might be a struggle, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think Milana would enjoy it as much.
No.
I don't think she's going to have her little whimsical trips around the shops and taking pictures of pottery and stuff in the same way she tends to do now.
But it's an interesting question, isn't it? And we will see, I guess, how it all unfolds. What else do we have then? So, Elland Road being used for the rugby. We'll come to you on this one, Rob. I don't know anything about rugby league. I don't think you do, Michael. Do you? I know you're an expert in many fields, but
well, I know a bit.
Do you reckon you could turn your hand? Because obviously you're a seasoned football coach. I mean, I know you kind of you reject the badges. Like, you don't want to fall in line with all the squares, do you? With all their badges.
No, definitely.
It's instinct.
I'm a patriot, and I don't think you need those things.
So do you reckon,
I'm a freeman of the land when it comes to football coaching.
Do you think you could turn your hand in a very literal sense to coaching rugby?
I don't see. It don't look complicated, does it?
Running around, throwing a ball.
Pass, run around.
You've driven down the M62, haven't you? So
yeah.
You know rugby league, it's fine.
Yeah, just get yourself bigger. Bigger still. Faster.
Yeah.
Big and fast.
Yeah. That's you.
Cracked it, yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, I get the impression from what I saw on Twitter, rugby league fans are generally not thrilled with Elland Road.
Yeah, so the Magic Weekend is going to be held at Elland Road on August 17th and 18th, which is a weekend where every team in the league plays each other across 2 days. So Leeds are playing Warrington on the Saturday. And it's been held in Newcastle for most of the last 5 years, I think. And the idea of it was to kind of take it around to different parts of the country where I guess rugby league isn't necessarily as popular. So it's been at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. It's been up in Edinburgh at Murrayfield. It's been at Anfield. And next year it's going to be at Elland Road, which, lots of rugby league fans are unhappy with.
A crumbling stadium just off the M62.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the argument is kind of, it's Leeds, don't want to go there. But
is Leeds not the home of rugby league, though? It's where the Well,
It's Huddersfield, technically.
is it? Whatever. Yeah, but the
you can't play there, can you?
HQ's just up on the ring road, isn't it? Although they have built a new roundabout there, so I don't know if that's interfered with the land of the rugby league people. Is it called the Red House roundabout or something, that one?
I have no idea.
I'm getting into rugby league.
Red House,
I said I didn't know anything about rugby league.
You know a lot about roundabouts.
Turns out I know the whole folklore. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like a crumbling stadium in Beeston isn't great. But at the same time, they'll take it to Newcastle, and if there's like 30,000 people there on one day, it just looks half empty. Whereas if you get 30,000 people in Elland Road, it at least looks full and will probably be a fun atmosphere.
It'll be accessible for all the fans, won't it? That's one thing,
But then all the fans are saying, well, we're not going to go then. And it's sort of like, well, that's why they're bringing it to a smaller ground in Leeds. But also as well, I think it's probably going to be the last one. Kind of this like new governing body wants to get rid of the Magic Weekend as a concept. So it feels like they're bringing it to Elland Road to die.
I was going to say, if there's a ground, or a club that can host something that kills the Magic,
get it to Beeston.
It's Leeds United. God bless them. God bless them. The Women's County Cup match has been cancelled. We're in that time of the year now where, because of the level that they're playing at and the state of the pitches, there's going to be a lot of cancellation. So we could get to spring and they're playing that 2 or 3 times a week at this rate. Yeah,
it's going to happen quite often. I mean, at least Leeds are no longer playing at Tadcaster, which is basically below sea level. It's
essentially a floodplain, isn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully that will improve things.
So it was Ripon City they were due to play that we spoke at length about Ripon. And it's
great, of course, good
cathedral.
Chat.
Some good cathedral chat there. And Minster as well. We learned about Minsters, didn't we? The Bannister Prentice Stadium, unplayable pitch, unfortunately. What else do we have then to round this up? We've got Little Somerville winning a pointless award as I nearly call him Jesse then. It's because Jesse's name's on the sheet in front of me. Daniel Farker said, because he's not into individual awards, it's about the collective, isn't it? It's about the team. But he's won the PFA Championship Fans Player of the Month. Was that a public vote by any chance?
I would imagine it was, yes.
Beat Dan James to it as well. So I'm guessing James finished second if it was a public vote.
Yeah, probably by a distance.
Jesse has been talking, hasn't he? Which is why I mentioned him, because his name's on the sheet here. And what's this from? Is it an interview that he's done, or was it
He was on a BBC radio show, I believe.
Right.
China. I've not listened to the whole thing. I just took the quotes out about Leeds and thought, let's slag him off a bit.
I'm going to strip these of all context and go.
No, he was kind of waffling on about replacing Bielsa and how much he respected him and how he was kind of overblown when he said they were being overtrained or whatever. And then he says he was doing a great job basically, and he thought it was a foolish decision to sack him, which is not how I necessarily think about things looking back. But
views may differ.
Yeah, which is fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's of no consequence. But I will say that the football was absolutely dog dirt to watch.
A number of foolish things happened around that time. I don't think sacking Jesse Marsh was one of them.
No,
I think maybe not sacking him a year ago when. It was a year ago, wasn't it? The World Cup break was going on, wasn't it? I think that would have been the time. But
and Angus Kinnear did agree in retrospect, didn't he, when he came in and spoke to us? So,
I mean, this is the thing. Like he was talking a lot about how things were developing, and sacking him was a foolish decision because it just halted that whole progress. And what is it here? It's not just turnkey. You need time. You have to develop everything from tactics to mentality to understanding to bravery. But the thing is, like, we watched it for a year and nothing developed. It was still exactly the same.
Nothing seemed to change from that Villa home game right at the very start to when he went. I didn't see any progress or any development.
So it's like, how long was that going to take? And would we have just ended up in the Championship anyway?
And people close to it have said that he refuses to bend from the Red Bull manual to the extent where he's not even working for Red Bull anymore, and they've let him go out of the stable. Is he too wedded to these ideas?
He's the Ron Burgundy of football managers. Yeah. It's just what's in front of him in his handbook. So just keep doing that again.
Yeah.
Read what is in front of you. Anyway, we'll see where he turns up next.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see where he does turn up next. Do you wonder if he turned down jobs for ego purposes? He thinks they're a little bit too low status for him, or
he did in that interview. He touched upon nearly getting the Leicester and Southampton jobs and saying how, like, oh yeah, I went in there and the project just wasn't right for me. So I was thinking, I think maybe they thought the same as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they ended up with Dean Smith and Southampton. I can't remember the name of the guy.
In the roll neck, wasn't it?
Yeah, the guy in the roll neck who was already there. Is who they ended up with. Yeah. So, fucking hell.
A bloke in the roll neck. What, the milk tray man?
What's his name? I can't remember. I know we just got annoyed at him. You can't set up as your first managerial job in a roll neck.
No, it looks too like cerebral, doesn't it? You can't.
You've got to have at least like
do the tracksuit years.
At least a Europa League campaign under your belt before you can start wearing a roll neck.
Yeah, and a smoking habit.
I think that's a bit old school now.
Is it?
Yeah. Should we bring it back?
I've
Puffing away on the touchline.
Yeah.
I've written a blog about Bielsa's Espanyol playing Juventus in a friendly, and Marcello Lippi spends the whole game just smoking a cigar on the touchline. I think fair play.
Yeah.
Pipes.
Yes. What are you going for?
Yeah, bring a pipe.
That is very thoughtful, isn't it? And finally, Weston McKennie has admitted that he wasn't great at Leeds, which follows on from him. He said this before, actually. He admitted he wasn't in the best shape, which we could probably vouch for. Based on the eye test.
Do you not have to be polite in these situations? No, you look fine. You look fine.
Go up an octave.
This just, it doesn't look, I don't look good in this, do I? Oh, it looks nice.
Oh, dear. I didn't have the best performances. I felt I let certain people down. Which people did you let down, Weston? That's what I want to know. Does he mean the fans? Does he mean coaches? Who does he mean? Because he came in and then Jesse went straight away, didn't he?
His mates on Twitter, maybe, I don't know. But the whole I wasn't in shape thing was weird, because his argument was I needed to play games to get in shape. And it's like, well, you were playing games. You were still just shit.
Yeah.
But his whole thing here as well is that, I'm back at Juventus and it was such a valuable experience at Leeds, and I feel like I've learned loads and I'm all the better for it. And it's kind of what we've heard from a lot of the players that have since left after getting us relegated. And it's like, yeah, that's great that you're like personally developing. But while that has happened, we've been relegated and now you've all just buggered off. And then people wonder why we're like pissed off at these players.
I think that's one, they don't understand, do they, the personal responsibility aspect.
I think that's just player spin.
Right.
It's the same way as like when bad things happen to people and they go, well, everything happens for a reason. You think, it'd be better if we didn't know, wouldn't it? You don't need to find the positive in this. Just say it was a bad thing and move on from it.
Well, there you go. That does wrap up the weekly roundup. The jury, the heroes and villains will return next week when we've got some more match action to talk about and some player performances. Looking forward to Rotherham then.
Yeah.
I really am. It's nice to come back and go, just in contrast to last year, and think, I like all these players. I like the way that we're playing. I like the manager. And I like playing Rotherham on a Friday night in the Championship. What about you?
I mean, I'd probably rather not be playing Rotherham at all, truth be told. But, if we win, I'd rather beat Rotherham than like lose to Spurs. Put it that way.
Let's do that then, shall we? Should we do that?
Let's
do that. Well, we'll review the action on the match ball on Friday night. Live stream for TSB Plus members. Usual stuff out over the weekend. And we'll return with a weekly show next week. So it happens once a week.
Propaganda back too.
We'll see you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.